Hi everyone. Today I wanted to talk about being ignored, being ghosted, what to do, because it's a very painful state to be in. And however, if you know what it is about, if you know how to handle it, it can be a very empowering one. So I'll base it on a story of mine where I was ignored and it didn't feel good at all. And you will see that I took steps that took me to a more loving state, to a state where I felt good about myself and I felt that it brought up a backbone in me and it helped me become more discerning. So I remember it was some time ago and I sent a message to a person and it was a very vulnerable one. I was being completely myself in that moment. And I did that because I've already done an audio on this. I feel like many times when we connect with other people, we connect through our armor. We connect through our masks, and I definitely was doing a lot of that in the past. And so I told myself I'd be very vulnerable, so very open and very raw, and I would connect from there, right? And I also knew that if I opened up vulnerably, I could also get hurt. I mean, this is something that we need to be clear about, because if we don't open up to the other person, if we come with our masks, it's not because we have nothing else to do. It's not because we're senseless creatures. It's because there is a very good reason for that. And it's that we're really keeping ourselves safe. Because we're afraid of the other person. And we're afraid of the other person also because, they don't know themselves. I don't know myself, so they don't know themselves. So, I mean, it's two unknowns coming together. So, yeah, that can feel a little bit very unsafe, right? But the whole idea is that at some point, some of us are just tired of that kind of a relationship based on solely the superficial, because it's a very dry relationship. So for me, that was I got tired at some point, and so I in that moment I was being very myself, and I was very vulnerable, and I sent that message, and guess what? I got ignored. Oh my god, that was not a nice place to be. And I got ignored, and this is usually the moment where, I could go, oh my god, I have to close down. I don't want to do this anymore, because the level of discomfort, of pain and shame that comes up is very high. I mean, it is, and we need to be very clear about it. And I remember that I felt a lot of shame, right? And I always call it the, slow roasting on shame days, when, every moment you're just haunted. There's this image that comes up, and then the shame comes up, and it's just, you physically feel pain, and it's such a cold place to be in. There's so much loneliness there, and shame is about you. It's a part of you that is like why were you yourself? Why did you do that? Why did you go there? And it's trying to erase that part. It's trying to erase the vulnerable part of you, the real you. It's trying to erase it completely, wipe it from this reality so that it doesn't exist, so that you never be yourself. So it comes over and over again, punishing you for having done that. And you feel it physically. It's like a punch in the gut. It's a very painful place to be in. And you don't know what to do. There's a feeling of wanting to come out of your body. Because again, you just don't want to be yourself. Right? That's what shame is. And so I was feeling that. And I was feeling that even physically. And at that point, I knew that if I ran away, that the shame would become larger, bigger. Because the more you run away, the more it's going to run after you. And that I needed to face it. And so what I started doing is that I started taking all these images that would haunt me, and I would, instead of running away and separating myself from them, I was going towards them. So I would, bring them in consciously into my mind and feel the shame, feel how the shame would wash through me, right? And the first time, it's usually the most difficult part, because there is a part of you, it's like, why are we going there? We shouldn't be going there, because it's painful, right? So that part wants to spare you your pain, your shame, right? But it's about taking that part. I took that part in and I went towards it, and I started going back to these memories that were filling me with shame, right? So I was going back over and over again. And as I went back over and over again, a feeling of safety came in. A feeling of relief came in. Because what was happening is that suddenly I started realizing that as I looked at all these images, I wasn't dying. Nothing bad happened. And that was the first thing, because that's why most of the time we don't want to go towards them. We think we're going to die, and no, it's not the case. You go towards them and you don't die. And these images come from inside of you, right? So knowing that there is a part of you that is bringing something that could literally kill you, that feels very unsafe to be in yourself. And now, through this experience, I actually proved to myself that it's not the case, that these images are not killing me. They're actually incredible. I'll explain later on why. But they actually are something that are not going to kill me, and they're going to empower me. So there is a feeling of relief that came in, and of love, because I'm like, oh, nothing in me is against me. Nothing in me is a foe. It's actually a friend. And I can face it. I can integrate it. So that's the first thing. And the second thing that happened was that now, because I went through the resistance, there was no resistance whatsoever, because I felt safe. Now I became curious. It comes very naturally. It's like every part of you wants to know what that image is telling. It is telling to them, right? It's like you become very curious. So I was looking at the image and I wanted to go back to that image over and over again. And what I realized in that moment was that I was just the way that person had ignored me, my vulnerability. I was actually ignoring a need of mine. I was ignoring a boundary. And this was happening because deep inside, I thought I couldn't have what I wanted. And so I thought that I had to settle for what is. I had to be grateful for that, right? And I needed to go through that programming that I have, and so many of us have, where we think that wanting for something is a bad thing. We should be grateful for what is, and we should settle for that. And then we become resentful, annoying, and toxic, right? And so I needed to go in and feel into that limitation, into that feeling of, oh my God, you're asking for too much. You're being so, how do you say, willful, spoiled, and I needed to go through that, which is, which comes also with a lot of shame and feeling like I was being entitled in that moment. And, that there was a part of me that was berating me for all that, for wanting so much, right? And it comes with a lot of discomfort, because nobody is going to validate that for you. Nobody's going to tell you, oh, you can have whatever you want. I mean, maybe some coach will tell you that, but most of the time people around you will not do that. Through their actions, they're going to show you actually the opposite. They're going to show you that you should settle for whatever is there and you shouldn't go further on. And so there's a lot of discomfort, and it may feel very egotistic to go towards what you want. So I had to go through that and feel into it. And I think it took me 2-3 days. Because I was going into it very deeply. And so I went through the resistance. I understood the need that I had a very specific need in relationships. And I became clear about it. And by being clear about it now, I could express it also to other people very clearly, because before that I hadn't done that. So, I wasn't being honest with the other person either. And the third thing was that I went through the limitations that were around that need, that were keeping that need bottled up. And so at some point, after 2-3 days, I think, even 2 days, I think, and it gets, lighter and lighter and lighter. It's the first time that the shame is very strong, but as you do it, it becomes lighter. And as you do this practice over and over again, it becomes something very natural and something that you will you will want to go towards very easily, because you will know all the benefits it gives you, right? So you will not be afraid of these kind of situations. So it took, as I said, a few days, and then afterwards it just left I didn't even go back to that image, to that trigger, because there was no trigger anymore. And I felt very good. I felt a feeling of integration and feeling safe in myself, and having expanded, known myself. It was an incredible moment. And, and that was it for a few days. And now, and this is, I think many people don't talk about this, the test comes, right? And the test was that the person that ignored me came back. I was after some time, I think a week or something like that. And, this is where you see that you have free will. Because in that moment, I knew that the same pattern was coming up again, And if you want to break a pattern, a destructive pattern, of course, it's not about the pattern. The pattern is going to come up in your life. It's what makes it go one way or the other is your decision. It's your choice. In that moment, are you going to choose to go back to the same type of behavior? If yes, the pattern is going to continue and you're going to be ignored over and over again. Or are you going to take in all that you have integrated and move forward and step into the unknown? Push that boundary, push the envelope. And there is going to be discomfort there. And it is the unknown. It's mystery. You don't know where you're going. Right? And this is something that most of us don't realize when it comes to breaking patterns, when it comes to changing the type of relationship that we want to be in. We want to have this beautiful relationship, but then we don't take the necessary steps. We don't develop ourselves to go there, to hold that type of, nourishing and conscious relationship. And so the pattern came up, the person came in as if it was the most natural thing to come back as if it was, nothing happened. And I knew, and that's the free will, that's where the choosing comes. And again, I'm talking about this because there's going to be discomfort. And it's okay, because this discomfort is in the fact that you're going somewhere else. You're actually choosing another path. And that discomfort, if you feel it, is actually telling you that you're going into a more healthy pattern. That's actually a very good sign. And it's about feeling that discomfort in taking that step. And, I remember there was because I didn't know how to, at that point, I didn't know how to answer that person. I didn't want to ignore that person. I don't want to use the same tactics, right? And I didn't know how to be there. And I knew that if I took that route, the unknown, I may put that person in discomfort, and that made me feel unsafe. Because, we walk on eggshells with other people. Whenever we see that there may be a trigger there, we try to placate them instead of letting them go through it and become stronger and become more integrated. And that's the discomfort that was coming up. Because maybe so many times I was the good girl that was trying to be nice and placating and was actually repressing everyone around me and myself, right? But now it's the opposite. It's like I'm going to go there and I don't know what is going to happen. I don't know how that person is going to react. And there may be a trigger, and that's something to take into account. But it's definitely worth it. Because what you can do if you are wobbly is go back to when you were ignored and feel into that and see how again you're going to ignore yourself just to placate everyone because it feels safe, it feels the same. And go back and imagine yourself going through that. And then if you've done all this inner work, you will see that you will feel betrayal. You'll see that you'll feel as if you've betrayed yourself. You'll see that it will feel like you're going back to something flat, dead, boring. And that you don't want to take yourself there. You love yourself too much to go there. Right? So I hope this is clear, and I think it's good to, when you are in these kind of situations, to listen to this audio over and over again and see which parts, which moments you're going through, so that they give you more clarity, and they help you be more trusting of yourself, so that you can start really listening more to yourself and be aligned with yourself. Okay. Ciao, ciao. Take care.